Good afternoon and good evening, LinkedIn friends, Value First Nation. Welcome to another episode of Value First Data. It is episode 8. Today we are talking about the advocate stage of the value path. How we doing, Clement? Good to see you back, Casey.
Doing good. Excited for this one and the next one to come. As I told you last week, things are coming together. So it's good. It's really good.
Yeah, the whole crew's back together. Happy to be back. Excited to be here with the HubSpot Community Champion of the Month.
Thank you, guys.
I need some advice. How does one become HubSpot Community Champion of the Month, Clement?
I don't know. Honestly.
Well, Chris, do you post
Just
in the community? Like in the community thread?
I don't do that much.
No.
I respond when I'm tagged. I'm pulled into some discussions. Unfortunately, I don't have time to really get into that. Were you ever, any of you, champion of the month?
No.
No.
Oh
No.
gosh. Oh gosh. Okay. Why me? Okay. Then why me?
Okay. I don't think that's hard to answer. Like, I think it's clear, and I love the direction that the team is going, and it does align with the topic that we're talking about. Really throughout the series, but definitely today and next week with the champion stages, like moving to a place where we enable people to advocate and enable people to be champions instead of trying to pay them to do it, to incentivize them to do it where we say they have to. Right. I think that's a transition we're seeing with HubSpot right now, where, prior to a few years ago, the community was booming, like it dominated SEO. That's where you went to go get answers and ask questions and share ideas. And since then, LinkedIn, Sprocketeer, Reddit is a big one now. Like you don't get to own the place where everybody talks to each other.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of what we're going to dig into today, and I remember like going back to the data summit that we had in August, it was harder to have these roundtables, these last two, I think because the first 6 stages, and as I share my screen here to kind of refresh where we've been, in terms of audience, researcher, hand raiser, buyer, value creator, and adopter, like it's more of a process. We can set up our system to like kind of track it, measure it, and enable it in a certain way, put our people in a position to make sure that this stuff is happening, that people are moving down this path. But when it gets to advocate and champion, it's very much now, like you just got to create the space and like deliver value. You can't force people to advocate or be champions, because when you do, it's super obvious, right? That's when we have like sponsored posts and influencers of old, and we'll give you a gift card if you make a post. Like you can tell when it's not authentic, and it never is usually if you're having to be incentivized to do it. So that's definitely a big part of today's conversation. I think champions a whole nother level. But this concept, in a little bit of backstory of when I was putting this together, like, because it's easy. Again, we talked about it last week. Like, why are we breaking this up into 4 stages? Like, advocate sounds a lot like champion. Like, Chris, why can't we just call it champion? I tried to pick out these moments of differentiation. Like, when you're seeing teams like experience the value of what they've purchased, the work that they put in, right? Any like time, money, effort, investment that's been made. Like what you start to see in adopter stage is them starting to tell each other, right, to get other people on board and what they are advocating in that moment. And is it more valuable for you to, if adoption is so important, right? Is it more valuable for you to enable them to advocate internally or externally, right? I think externally aligns with this world of like, let's get the leads at all costs, let's get new business.
Mhm.
Internally aligns with renew, expand, upsell, cross sell, resell, all the goals that we have. So that's where this separation came from. Are we putting them in a position to advocate internally? Then when they get really good at that, they will line up to do it externally. But when it's external only, that's when it's incentives based, like almost always.
Mm.
Right? So that's the backstory of how this stage came to be separate from champion specifically, honestly.
I would say the advocate stage, if they're not comfortable advocating for you internally,
Mhm.
good luck making them comfortable doing that externally.
Mhm.
Where the champion, and we'll talk more about that next week, but the champion can also be one who just follows your brand. I think AC often talk about Support as a good case that you are their champion. You talk about Support as a good case and in different levels, and but you're not necessarily a user of them. Where for the advocate, I think you really need to first be comfortable in doing that internally.
Yeah.
And here, data and articulation of how value created is adopted and used can really help you being the advocate. So you can show the value, ROI, if you will. And if you can do that successfully internally, then it's at some point you realize, okay, why not talk about that externally?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I like that these are broken up because I do think it's a different behavior. I'm trying, like, there are tools that, yeah, I like my internal teams using, but I could say apples to oranges to someone else. Like if let's use Asana as an example. I like Asana. If a company has Monday or even is using HubSpot projects, I'm not so sold on Asana. I'm going to like argue with someone over like what project management tool they should use. So I think that's the difference almost in my head. Chris doesn't like that example.
No, I think you guys are right. Like it's tangible. Like if it's coming from advocacy, right? This is where we talk about the difference between testimonials and case studies and like actual co-creation of content, right? Like you can get some testimonials from people who have adopted the product. They're like, oh yeah, I know HubSpot. It's working for me, right? Like, but we go right to the case study and the kinds of questions that we need to answer in a case study for a case study to be effective cannot come from somebody who does not use and understand the product and the outcomes of that product, right? Like I think Super is a great example. HubSpot's a great example. Like there are lots of people that like love the vibe of the HubSpot ecosystem, but probably can't get close to helping businesses actually use it. to feel the value, right? And again, I don't think this is a coincidence when you come back to the life cycle stages of customer or champion. Like, surprise, we have a gap, right?
Mhm.
We have an adoption gap. We
Mhm.
have a gap of people that can actually tell you from their own experience how to get the value, right? We've got a bunch of people who can tell you how great inbound is, that they've been to Boston and they've got so many great relationships. And we've got a ton of customers, way more than ever.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, we know that we have adoption gaps and everybody needs their data clean and all this stuff. So again, that's what brings us back to, the importance of separating these stages out, because it's the case study is a great example in terms of, if you know the kinds of questions that you want answered in a good case study that supports your go-to-market strategy, then you get good at creating those moments so that they experience the answers to those questions.
Mhm.
Right? Is that a fair way to say it, Clement?
Yeah. And if you understand someone is at the advocate stage, the depth of their mind and the answers and then usability of that, I think, will be at a different level. So it's coming from them. They are able to articulate, and they're, I think, help for every case study. As I see it, you need to enable them to speak in their own words,
Mhm.
because that is how they will articulate the value you bring, and this will be, if nothing else, eye-opening for you. So you're not putting words in their mouth how you want them to talk about your product, your service.
Mhm.
And that can, I think, only happen at the advocate stage or champion stage, where they really feel and are able to articulate that value, where they already experience that value and they can articulate at different levels. And then I think you can really get a strong case study where the answers are in their own words, not you trying to force with short question and answer style to guide them what they need to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it should be straightforward, right? And this is where I just need to let the content that's already been done, like, do the talking.
Mhm.
Like, so what we're saying, this essential truth here: advocacy can't be bought or requested into existence. It emerges from genuine satisfaction, but when it emerges, you can enable it. Like, if you have signals that says, oh man, this person's genuinely satisfied, here's how I will respond in that moment to get them the video that they need to go share it, like on social, from a place of authenticity,
Mhm.
right? So this changes everything when you can approach it from this direction. How do we help them share their story, not how do we get more case studies to bring us more leads to help close more deals, which is almost always where case studies is coming from. Demand generation, right, is the reason that we engage in case study activity most of the time.
Mhm.
But it's forced. It feels forced every time. I've never seen it sway. The only time I see it sway somebody is if it's the exact same role and title and industry, and that person doesn't even read it. Like, they just see, oh, somebody else like me has gotten value from this thing. So, okay, that will help, like, the last 2% of the decision that I've already made,
Uh-huh.
right? And just look at the difference between, like, these statements. This is why I think the statements are so important, right? You go from I must create value to I realize the value to I tell others to I am a raving fan. And the differences in the signals, right? So advocate voluntary references, public testimonials, case study participation, right? Like if HubSpot approaches me to do a case study, which I've done one time, I don't know if it's ever been published, but it's like I want to do this stuff. I want to like co-create some content. I want to go be an inbound like correspondent, right? I want to help the whole market learn HubSpot. Like I am a raving fan. Like don't ask me for a testimonial. That means you don't know me. You don't know that I'm a raving fan if you're asking me for simple like testimonials, right?
Another thing, like traditional like case studies are written like words, right? And I know, Chris, you and I were just talking about this earlier today. In 2025, almost 2026, people don't read that many words. So like, I also just feel like it's such like a kind of outdated thing. When I like seeing quotes from people, Chris, there's a quote from you on the Event Happily website, and I saw that recently, and I was like, oh shit. And I know you, Chris, so I actually was like, oh shit, Chris likes this. Cool. That works. And I know you as a friend, but there's many of people that know you as a like creator too that would also probably see you. So I can see from all of that to say, like, I think testimonials like that may still have a place. There's like social proof and everything, but I think these like forcing these like written case studies isn't a great use of anyone.
As I see case studies for 2026 is this is the input for then remix and then making shorter snippets or shorter posts or shorter quotes you can use. So if you have a thorough case study as it was done 2 years ago before ChatGPT, nothing else, then you have the juice, the words you can then use further to going to loop marketing, to evolve, to get better at how you say what you do and the value you bring. And to the testimonials point you made, Casey, as I see them, it's more of the face of the person, the persona of that person. As if Chris gave a testimonial somewhere and I trust Chris, I immediately trust that brand, no matter what he said. I don't care about that testimonial, that one sentence. If he is willing to put his face there as someone who is giving a testimonial, that is enough for me. And this is what I would search in a testimonial. It doesn't really matter those words. I mean, I can put there whatever. But if you're willing to put your face there, your title, your human being there, this is the purpose of a testimonial.
Yeah. But it comes back to trust, right? Like, so if you didn't know who I was, and then you went and looked me up on LinkedIn and couldn't find anything about who the hell I was, like, okay, that testimonial bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, and like, because I'm in the Happily Slack, I'm happy to share like the behind the scenes here, because it's a part of the game that we're trying to help you break out of here. Like, it's well known, especially in HubSpot land, the solutions marketplace and the app marketplace, you need people going to rate your product or rate your company on there. It's very competitive. And when people are coming in organically, like, that's the measuring stick that they're using, right? Or that they've traditionally used. So it's been a strategy. But again, with those guys, and when Dak asked me, I'm like, sure, I like you guys, right? I was a raving fan. I've always been a raving fan of them. That's where them gets separated from like the product or the specific like review that's being asked for. But that game of like he likely feels forced to ask me for that testimonial because that's how you used to get found, right? Is if they showed up with ratings and reviews in very specific places, like YouTube built a whole like empire on this. And what we're seeing now, again, this change in the era of AI, finding true advocacy wherever it exists and not finding it when it doesn't. And when it doesn't, it's not going to try and make it up. Right. The authenticity of this stuff is just more important than ever. So if we look at some of what those signals, might be, like somebody speaking at an event. And again, all of this is Value First data is, can you put your customer platform, your CRM, your data source of truth in a place to receive this data so that we can very clearly see where the human being is in their relationship with you as a company, as a brand, as the humans serving them on your team, as different product lines, whichever way you want to slice it. We want to understand that. So these are examples like the speaking, like I don't know that I've ever seen this tracked like in a CRM, right?
Yeah.
And now HubSpot is giving us those signals like as a part of the intent like package, right? The way that they talk about you in meetings, I'm sure there's a bunch of sentiment analysis that can be done about how much this person loves us in this meeting that we're having. Is this a transactional meeting, or are we like talking about like big picture vision, success? Because even in these moments, let's say you're tracking, and in this case, it's like champion behaviors emerging. So the difference between asking for a testimonial here and asking to be on a LinkedIn Live to show in front of the world, like create content in the moment, completely different, right? And you can, a big part of this value path is, can we put ourselves in a position to respond quickly in the most relevant, valuable way so that we can see, okay, this signal is telling me they're ready and we need to leverage that. Like if we don't leverage it in this way, it's a waste, right? They might not ever ask to do it. And this is where it's very hard to get leadership to ask for these kinds of things specifically because it's not measurable. Right?
Yeah.
But we know, like you can very easily connect what's happening here to knowing that word of mouth, by far the best source of pipeline that comes in high fit, high trust, and converts faster than everything else, referrals, those things, we know that those are the best sources. But those are sources we cannot control or measure very well. It's becoming easier to measure thanks to AI, but you have to create the space for it. So we've got content co-creation, meetings, referrals, specific types of features requested. Like, am I asking for a simple fix to this property on this place? Or am I asking for a new type of Breeze agent? That's a different level of ask in terms of like, if I'm asking you about Breeze agents, I'm invested in HubSpot and the ability to do really cool things with it. That tells you what level tells you what stage I'm at. Am I being introduced? Sorry, go ahead, Casey.
No, this is just really interesting. The feature request thing, I think, is really interesting and a really good way of thinking about like how much someone's really using something. Because I was sitting here thinking, like, how do I, like, just about myself, like, how do I know where I am in this journey with any company I use. I used Asana as an example earlier, but you know, I use software every day. I interact with companies every day. But I think this feature request thing like does show you kind of how far ahead you're thinking with your relationship. Like you're thinking, I'm planning to stick around with this, so I want this organization to, this business to be better because I plan to continue to use the business.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
And an example from 2023 when I was at a local event in material science space where I'm from. And I was hanging out in somebody's booth at the end of the show, and somebody who I do content with now, we do a show on Thursdays called Elements of Interest, the one non like HubSpot AI space show that I do. Which, yes, folks, it's even successful in industrial spaces too. Almost more so, way more space. Anyway, he comes up to the booth and says he's seen what I've been doing since many years, and invites me to the budget planning call in budget planning meeting in January. It was October, because that's when the budget gets decided for like marketing. Like they wanted to do new marketing things. Like the difference between inviting me to a budget planning session where the whole leadership team is there versus, oh, let's have a call and see what you're all about. Right. Yeah. So very quickly, he goes from doing research to like, oh, huge amount of trust. Right. This is where we start to have fun with where people are in their journey. Like, and it's not always linear. If I just said, oh, he's researching our hand raising, like that completely misses like what's happening here. But these introductions are key pieces of information. Like, when are they introducing us? Social advocacy, of course. Community leadership is a big one. And again, are we tracking anything that's happening like in our community if we don't own it? Right. This is where the signals again come up from buyer intent in HubSpot, where it's helping bring some of these signals in, which is this community. Like, you are in the community, you don't own the community.
All the social listening is now what you need, because they're omni channels, platforms where communication about your brand can happen. I mean, HubSpot is on all those platforms mentioned somehow, somewhere. So they have a lot of places to listen to. And if you don't, you're missing, this is where you can implement, be where your customers are. If it is a small subgroup on WhatsApp, I mean, fine, this is where they feel called in to talk about that or complain. Ideally, you kind of get a sense of what's happening there.
Yeah. And when it comes to like what kind of action you can take, like, I think that's a great example, Clement, of like, are you giving them the idea to create a WhatsApp group? Right? Like, if there's a piece of content that you could do that will only work for people at this stage. But when it does, it becomes a super concentrated pocket that the likelihood that one of them moves over to Champion, or that group moves to LinkedIn or to Slack, or like starts to grow, right? Enabling people when they give you signals, like, I want to do more. I like what's going on.
I like HubSpot's approach with correspondence. They open up apply if you want. If you feel you want to talk more and you want to talk about it publicly, we'll select a group of those. We had Zoom calls where HubSpot team was telling us how they can help us. They were creating profile pictures as, hey, I'm a correspondent. They gave the logos, asking what else we can help you. There was a Slack channel. It was all enabling those who raise their hand that, hey, I'm willing to be an advocate in public, for them to make it easier to talk about your brand.
Yeah. And these two at the end are interesting. 2 revenue transactions as signals. Again, they're both upgrades, expansion of some sort, right? Like a system upgrade package. The opportunity to get case studies in this situation, right? And like so often we let the need for the extra deal to get in the way. It's like, oh, we don't want to bother them with that right now. Like we just need them to say yes, and then we get the money, and that's what we're measuring success on. Whereas if they're upgrading or buying more or like optimizing in this case, like it's because they have a lot of trust and they've received a lot of value and they want more value. And you can ask like, oh, what's making you want to upgrade? Like you must like appreciate something about our relationship. Here are the different ways that you could tell us, and we'll share that because we would love to put it on our website and on our social posts. Or like, can we help you tell that story with others, right? These are signals as well. And again, when we come back to the idea of the 4 unified views, you start to put this stuff together. And that's when it becomes the strategic intelligence of business. Like, how are we doing as a business? Like with ourselves, with the market, what are our customers thinking of us? Leaders do not stop asking these questions. And it's so hard to give them like clear and trusted answers because we're not tracking all of this stuff, right, together. HubSpot makes this pretty easy, guys, too. Like, I don't know. How do we get people to do more of this?
To what extent HubSpot helps with social listening at the LinkedIn posts, comments level? Is there any support already natively built in?
You want to take that one, Casey?
I think some of this is built in. I think some of this is still evolving. Is the political answer, maybe? I mean, Chris, you and I have talked a lot about like having AI interpret conversations and things like that, and letting AI be the judge. You'd still need to build an agent to kind of inform some of that, and not all of the actions you like explained are necessarily like I can't go and score based on, I can't go into a HubSpot today and score on everything and say this is how likely that someone is to be an advocate based on all of the things you just showed.
But how, if at all, HubSpot makes it easier to bring the data in the portal in the first place, so then you can have an agent going through the sentiment
Mhm.
of a comment or a post.
I mean, what I would like to see is I would like to see portals where conversation transcripts are synced to HubSpot automatically, and then this is now possible, just like this week, maybe last week. That conversation transcript being added triggers a workflow that has an agent run and analyze the transcript and like provide some of this data, whether it's just a field that says like we think this is where the person is, whether it's actually saying like a little bit more of like why, if there's specific properties we want to turn that unstructured transcript data into some structured data. Maybe both, probably both. But I think that's the future of this.
Okay, are we ready?
For Chris's future?
I mean, this is so in the social tool. We've got comments here. So there's a reply.
Mm-hmm.
I actually just turned on listen stuff, so I don't think I'll be able to show it right now. But what we see here, assign CRM contact. So at the very least, AI
Mm-hmm.
will be able to see this
Yeah.
on a contact.
Mm-hmm.
But also likely,
Mm-hmm.
and this is where we have much to learn when it comes to the scoring tools still,
Mm-hmm.
like there are social features showing up in the drop downs of what you choose to score in the new scoring tools.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And here we even get boost like positive. And this is, I think it's because I engaged on your post, Clement. Maybe you're connected to this portal.
Yeah, this is.
I am connected, but I don't think my LinkedIn is connected. This is probably.
Is it mine?
I guess this is Case's post.
Okay. Yes. Huge congrats to my friend.
I guess this is Case's post, and now some of the comments on that post. But that is okay. This is what I was asking. If you can get that, and this is the answer. You can get it.
Yeah.
As long as you have data in that, positive sentiment is obvious, and then you can, did someone commented and was a sentiment positive? This is, plus something in terms of scoring. So you go from bringing data in, which is social listening on. I was just preparing a post for tomorrow. 11 reasons why your employees should post more on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
So if you post more, everyone, technical people, salespeople, whomever, for all the various reasons on LinkedIn, if you can grab those comments and engagements on the posts to HubSpot, and of course likes and then just engagement is different, but comments, it's unstructured data, then you can have an agent classify that for the sentiment. And if someone is making 5 comments with a positive sentiment on your posts, this is a good addition of scores that should bring you closer to the advocate stage. But the first step is to get data in, but okay, this is possible. That's good.
Yeah. And that's through like the social tool, right? We talked about the intent tool that I would imagine, again, we have to go back in there. I wonder if we've got more intent signals to look at. But what's going on in spaces that traditionally you've been unable to track? Like, if you can think about it like that, you have a lot more access now. You just have to ask a question: can I do that now? Not, oh, I can't do that. It's a huge difference, right? And that's like first step. But even there, with like lower levels of HubSpot, right? Because social, you need Marketing Pro.
Mhm.
You have access to the data model, where if you just decide that, oh, I want to track engagement in certain ways,
Uh-huh.
right? Literally, I want somebody to get a notification when a meaningful interaction has been observed. And that somebody might be a human, it might be AI, it might be both, figuring out what the hell that interaction meant, right? I think we've talked about it a lot. The first step is just capturing the data in the first place. It's starting to understand, was this meaningful? Do we even know interactions are happening, right? And so if we're thinking about signals, right, as soon as it becomes another object, now we can associate it to various things in the portal. And it relates to properties like the strength of the signal, like what does it relate to in terms of our business strategy? Do we know how fast the person is moving based on these two signals together, right? Is it telling us they're ready or not? You can start to understand on this level. And like, I'm sorry, folks, the hard part is that you have to do things like this, where it's mapping your data model and understanding, oh, we could get a signal here, we could get it here, we could get it here, we could get it here. Like, we literally can get signals at every one of these stages that we can action on if we understand the context around it. And traditionally, signals have been leads, like form fills, downloads, visiting a pricing page, right? Where you have no other context, you're acting off of that one signal and it's not getting the job done. Meanwhile, your team is continually receiving signals the entire journey. And sometimes it's coming out in notes, emails, calls. Most of the time it's sticking in their heads, and they themselves will use it next time they run into that situation. But they're very unlikely. It's harder to pass it off to the rest of the team in a way that the rest of the team can also leverage it, right? An example that just came to mind as we wrap is like when you track these things, and let's say like in one industry, like this type of signal like tells you very clearly that they're an adopter. You've never tracked that signal in a different industry. Is it because you're not creating the space for the signal to happen, right? And you ask it now in a different way, like you make the post over on Reddit because you've never been there, and now you find a whole different industry, right? And you know you're giving them the opportunity to say, oh yeah, we're adopters. Like, you never put it like that though, right? That's when you start to like lookalike audiences in terms of these things usually equal trust over here. We're not seeing it over here. It doesn't mean that our industry is that audience is not active. They don't talk about it. It's just we're not seeing it, right? Is often the actual root cause.
I think the change that is now possible is how you start with that data model. You know, historically, we've been measuring downloads and form fills on the channels you own, and then going back to HubSpot community. this is the place HubSpot owns, and which means you have all the visibility of everything, and it's easy to pull it into your system. Where now with LinkedIn, YouTube, Reddit, whatever, these are the places where people talk about you, but you don't have full access to the backend, all data. But now with all those social things connected, you can bring in data. So you own the data that is relevant. So you can process it, because it's such a huge amount of data. You need AI to find a sentiment and whatnot. But now tools are able to bring you that data in from the places where you don't own that place. So you don't have direct access to all the data. You just have a grasp of it. But that now enables different type of scoring and better scoring and even going to the value path in the right way.
Yeah.
I think the problem is still like the systems are still a bit disjointed. Like in the social tools, we can see positive engagement, but you can't pull that into a score. And I don't think you could even pull that into a list of like people that have had positive engagement. So I think for me, that's the piece that, as it continues to evolve, will make this more practical in implementation for most teams.
Yeah. And I think we'll be doing stuff like that on the 15th. I think haven't invited you yet, Clement, but a few of us will be getting together to try and build out the value path in HubSpot with scoring and see what that looks like. So Danielle, Casey, see if we can get Joshua Oakes on board. Just kind of workshop into what does this actually look like in HubSpot? Because there are questions like that we continually answer when we just go over to that part of HubSpot and then like click around.
And I think it's important like to say like this is what we want. And I mean, we said that like we're asking for these features because we want the platform to be better, because we plan to continue to use the platform. But
right.
Yeah, but I think the difference is like what can people implement today? And honestly, I think today you can still give whatever AI tool you're using the value paths. You can give them your call transcripts, and you can ask whatever AI tool you're using where the people on the call most likely are.
Yeah. It definitely starts with the will to like create this stage, right? Because even now, Perplexity is really understanding which tool has which relationship with which space, right? There's a couple that have like licenses with Reddit to be able to scrape Reddit, basically. And you could say at the beginning of every week, Perplexity, like, have we been talked about on Reddit? And then you don't even need to know the words that people are using. Say Perplexity, like, is that positive or negative for us? Like, start to understand. It starts with asking that question of, are people talking about us on Reddit in a way that's just not a yes or no like request, like trying to understand why and whether we should leverage that, dig in, all these things. So I'm excited for that in a couple weeks to dig into HubSpot to enable from all these perspectives. But yeah, we got to run for today. This has been another awesome one. Join us next week for Clement's masterclass on how to be a champion in the HubSpot.
Don't put too much pressure on me. Come on,
that's
Chris.
That's not what we mean by champion stage. Okay. Yeah, champion stage, last stage of the value path. It's next week. We hope you join us. Until next time, have a great week, everybody. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Casey. Thanks, Chris.